So today we're going to do circles. This will be the last thing that we'll do on the area unit. You've done circles before, so this should primarily be a review for you, although, like with the other ones, we're kind of taking this to a high school level and not a middle school level. So, first of all, a reminder of what a circle is. You all recognize it, but you may not know the definition. It's the set of all points in a plane, so it has to be flat, that are at a fixed distance, meaning the distance doesn't change, from a fixed point, meaning the point doesn't move, called the center. The way that we write that as in symbols is we draw a circle, but so that we know it's not an O or a 0, we put a dot in the middle of it. So that's circle P. It's a circle with a center at point P. Now, again, as a reminder to you, a radius of a circle is a segment with one endpoint on the circle and another one at the center. So in this particular diagram, there are 3 radii. Radius is plural, radius is singular, radii is plural, very much like cactus and cacti, or octopus and octopi, right? Those all come from the same language, where something that ended in US, they dropped the US and added an I to make it plural. So the radii in this picture are segment XR, segment XT, and segment XS. There's only one diameter shown here. There are other diameters, but they just aren't drawn in, is segment ST. It has to go all the way from one side of the circle to the other, going through the center. So a diameter of a circle is twice as long as the radius of that circle. The diameter of a circle is twice as long as the radius. So a term that you should have learned at some point is the circumference of a circle. It's the distance around the circle. So circumference is to a circle what perimeter is to a polygon. Right, the perimeter of a polygon is the distance around the polygon. If it's a circle, we no longer call it perimeter, we call it circumference. All right, page 2. Something you did either in 7th grade or 8th grade math, or perhaps both, is that in any circle, the ratio of the circumference to the diameter is pi. Pi is approximately 3.14159, but the digits go on infinitely. The next 2 are 2.6, but then after that I don't know anymore. So that means circumference divided by diameter is equal to pi. So if you multiply both sides of this by the diameter, circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or you may have learned it as circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. It doesn't matter which one of those two formulas you know. but you got to know one of them. Now, if we have a regular polygon and you get more and more sides, so let me show you what I'm talking about. If you've got a regular quadrilateral, it doesn't look very much like a circle, does it? But if I go to 6 sides, does that look more like a circle? Somewhat. If I go to 8 sides, does that begin to look more like a circle? Once it gets past 8, I can't draw them very well, so I don't even try. But if I had, say, a polygon this size that had 20 sides, you'd hardly be able to tell it from a circle at all. Now, the area of a regular polygon is 1/2 apothem times perimeter, where this is the apothem. But as this becomes closer and closer to a circle, the apothem gets to be closer and closer to the radius of the circle, because it goes from the center out to the edge. And the perimeter of the polygon is like the circumference. So it's 1/2 r times c, which is kind of cumbersome. So someone goes, okay, well, it's 1/2 times r times 2 pi r. The 2 and the 1/2 multiply out, and r times r is r squared, so we get the other formula you have to know for circles is that area is equal to pi times the radius squared. All right, so let's do a couple of example problems. Find the circumference and area of a circle with diameter 18 centimeters. Well, since they gave me the diameter, I'm going to use the formula that says circumference is pi times the diameter. So that's pi times 18. So the circumference is 18 pi centimeters. Notice it's not squared, it is a distance. So it's not square centimeters here. And then the area is pi times the radius squared. If the diameter is 18, then what is the radius? Oh, don't everyone jump at once. It's 9. So the area will be pi times 9 squared. 9 squared is 81, so that's 81 pi square centimeters. And again, frankly, that's a junior high problem. That's very basic, very straightforward. This next one is more of a high school problem. Find the circumference of a circle whose area is 64 x squared pi square inches. Since they gave us the area, we'll need to start with the area formula. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Substituting in, we have 64 x squared pi is equal to pi times the radius squared. To solve for r, anytime you're solving for a variable, you do the opposite of order of operations. If you knew r was 2, you would square it, then you would multiply by pi. So we're going to do the complete opposite. We're going to do that in the opposite order. We're going to divide by pi first. Nicely, that makes both of those drop out. And then we're going to do the opposite again. We're going to take the square root. The square root of 64 is 8. The square root of x squared is x. So the radius is going to be 8 times x. So then the circumference, since I have the radius, I'm going to use the 2 pi r formula. So it'll be 2 times pi times 8x. is 16x pi. Again, circumference is not squared or cubed, it's just whatever the units are. All right, last one. Which is larger around, a square table, 8 feet on a side, or a circular table with an 8-foot diameter? Well, let's see. If I've got a square that's 8 feet on every side, the distance around that would be the perimeter, which is 4 times 8 is 32. If I have a circle with a diameter of 8 feet, that means the radius is 4. So again, I want the distance around the circle, so I want circumference. And since they gave me the diameter, I'll go ahead and just use pi times the diameter. So that's pi times 8 is 8 pi. Now it's hard to compare those two because one of them has pi in it and one of them doesn't. So I'm going to use my calculator. If you have a TI, you have a pi button on your calculator. If you do 8 times, right underneath the clear, you notice that there's pi in blue. So you're going to press the blue second button before you press that. And it's about 25.13. So which one is larger around? The square table. Hey, any questions about that? Okay. So tomorrow we will have a quiz on the area worksheets 1, 2, and 3. Not last night's homework and not tonight's homework. Nothing we've done this week. It's all stuff we did before spring break, so you really need to look back at that. I would suggest you look at worksheet 3 because that has some of everything on it.